it just kind of happened, you know. I just came up with a product that I wanted to market, and it had to do with spun with wool, and I spun it, so Sam Spun. 1992 or something like that. I had a friend in Berkeley Springs who was a weaver, and she had a rug business. And I started doing some piecework for her. She was teaching me how to use the loom. And at one point she said, you know, I bet you would really like to do this. And she gave me a drop spindle and taught me how to use a drop spindle to spin yarn. So I started kind of being obsessive about it. And at that time I was traveling a lot with our music group. And so I would even have my drop spindle in the van as we're driving down the road, and I would be doing spinning then. So eventually she had offered me a wheel, and I said, well, not until I know I have space in my house. I'm not going to just take a wheel and tuck it away. So when I'm ready to make a space, that's when I'm going to, thank you very much. So sure enough, I eventually got her wheel. And then I just was spinning all the time. And I realized, what am I going to do with all this yarn? So in order to also validate all the time that I spent, I also, that's when I came up with my first product. And it was a kit to knit. And why was that? Well, because I knit on the road a lot. And so the kit was designed to have everything in the bag that you would need to start and finish it, except for the scissors. But with hand spun, you don't really have, you can just untwist it and it'll come apart. So I had a friend who did some artwork for me for the patterns. I had another friend who knit the patterns to make sure that she understood my directions. And then I put it together and marketed it to Tamarack. And they ordered 100 kits. So that was really the beginning of me starting down the road of making wool. I walked into the bank, locally, the bank, and I saw this advertisement on the bulletin board about this new organization in West Virginia called Appalachian by Design. And they were offering to teach people how to use the knitting machine in order to do piecework. You know, so they would get contracts. I mean, just long story made short, they would get contracts from different designers to make their designs. The designers would send the product, the ideas or the yarn, etc. And then Appalachian by Design, which was based in Lewisburg, they had a core of knitters that would knit these, and not always finishing, but always the finished work, and then send them back to the designer. And so they were offering these lessons for free. So I said, yeah, that's interesting. So I went, and I think it was up in Martinsburg. There's a woman that was teaching. There was about 6 or 8 of us in that class. And then the next thing would be for me to make a commitment to buy a machine. Now, I call it a knitting loom. It's also known, it's known as a knitting machine, but when people hear machine, they expect it to be plugged in and be electric. But I guarantee you that there's a lot of hand work. You don't plug it in. You can just knit a row in 3 seconds as opposed to 5 minutes, if I'm lucky. Working on a special order, someone wanted a rug with certain colors in it and size, and also I'm working on a sweater that certain colors and that wanted in the sweater too. So my yarn also is made from West Virginia sheep, mostly my flock, sometimes, since I have a small flock, sometimes I get it from Morgantown. I have a couple shepherds up there that have fine wool, and someone in Romney, which is Hampshire County, that sometimes I've gotten fleeces, and it's just to expand my ability to manufacture my yarn. So I have yarn manufactured for my specs, for my sweaters, and my hats are the only store-bought yarn, but I've been working with Webb's in Massachusetts for many years, and that's because it gives me a consistent hat. Where my hand spun, I never knew what it was going to turn out to be. So getting the market bulletin since 1973, honestly. And when I saw the West Virginia grown advertising, I thought, well, I should be part of that. I'm not a big farm. I'm not a big organization, and I really don't have the desire to grow into a big business. I've kind of gone through that a little bit and come back the other side and said, I like just doing it the way I do it. But on my labels all along, when I've put on labels, I've put West Virginia's finest fleece, so I've always made a note that the fiber is from West Virginia. Sometimes that really makes a difference to people. As a musician traveling around, there are so many people that would come up to see me afterwards that would say, I'm from West Virginia, but I had to move away. Or my family still lives in West Virginia. So, sometimes that little label makes a difference to people. Whether they buy it or not, I don't know. But